Are you ready?
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
I was right.
The Sixers win the game.
Let's go!
I'm the best.
And here are your hosts, Jessica Town and Rob Lange.
You're a jackass.
Embrace the madness.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's episode of The Madness. We're doing a little bit different of an episode this week. We've done things like this before, but the other half of mine that belongs in this show had his wife had their third child this week. She had a boy. His name is Luca. He's adorable, and mom and baby are doing well. And obviously, so the baby was born on Tuesday. So Wednesday was really not in the cards for Rob and I to record, and it's awesome. They have a new baby. Rob's excited. He got his boy, and we wish them the best. I wish them the best. I can't wait to meet Luca, but we wanted to make sure that we got you some sort of content this week because there are a lot of things that have happened. A lot of really big things in the world of the Phillies, a lot of big things in the world of the Sixers, a lot of different things that are going on. There are also a few things that happened this week that I would like to address personally. And I just couldn't let any time go by without doing that. So, it's going to be a short episode this week, but wanted to make sure we still were able to get some content out to you for our listeners and for people in the area that pay attention to what we do. So, obviously, as I'm recording this right now, it's 4:15 on Thursday. So, the Phillies game just finished. The stupid YouTube streaming was today. First of all, that's the worst thing in the entire world. I absolutely hate that because, A, they chose to do it in the middle of summer, which is the middle of hurricane season. Obviously, I'm aware that that is when the majority of baseball season happens, but today there were a ridiculous amount of storms rolling through Philadelphia. I actually, while I was working from home today, I sat outside with my computer, was doing work, but on our covered little balcony, watching the thunderstorm, and I've never heard thunder like this in my life. This thunder was ridiculous. So, needless to say, Wi-Fi and stuff isn't working great. So for the smart TV, I had to pull out, we had to pull out another computer to be able to watch it because the smart TV, the connection, it was not working at all. So the streaming on the TV was not working. Additionally, think about some of the people who love to watch baseball. The people that, if you don't have a smart TV, it's really hard to figure out how to get to this game. So that was really frustrating. When I first turned it on the TV, it stopped and was buffering and said it was loading every 2 to 3 minutes. And I know I wasn't the only one because I was seeing things on Twitter about it. It was absolutely horrible. If you're going to do it on YouTube, that's fine. I think it's great for the out-of-state fans or people that are, other places that they can't get a Phillies game and they really wanted to watch. It was a big game. The last game of the series with the Dodgers, they were looking to split, which they did. Nola was pitching. It was a big game. And I just think that it should have also been on TV somewhere. It shouldn't just be on YouTube. I get what they're trying to do, but I really am not a fan of it personally. But anyway, so the game just finished after being completely embarrassed by the Dodgers 4 days ago, losing 16-2 in what was just an ugly, ugly, ugly outing by the Phillies. It was ugly by the pitchers. It was ugly by the bullpen. Roman Quinn pitched the ninth inning. It was just ugly. Nothing could get done. It was an absolute mess. It was terrible. Yes, it happens. It happens both ways. It happens. I don't know what to tell you. It happened to the Eagles. They were blown out by the Saints and just narrowly lost in the playoffs to the same team. Happens. Sixers get obliterated in game 1 by the Brooklyn Nets. And they come back, and the Nets couldn't even sniff a win after that. It happens. In a long season, it happens. Unfortunately, you don't want it to happen against the best team in baseball. You don't want it to happen against the guys like that. You don't want to watch Cody Bellinger keep going. You don't want to watch it. You don't want to watch random people just keep shooting home runs left and right. It's horrible. It's terrible to watch. It's brutal, especially when the Dodgers were coming here after playing on Sunday Night Baseball, a game that went ridiculously long already and then went into extra innings. You know, flying in from the West Coast, doing that, having that game, and then coming down here and then just routing the Phillies the way they did. I mean, there was no excuse for that on the part of the Phillies. It was absolutely brutal to watch, and you know, it caused a lot of people to really look at this and say, yeah, this is it. That was the defining moment of the season being over for a lot of Phillies fans. But the next night, they came back. It was looking good. The save was completely blown by Hector Neris, which was absolutely terrible to watch, especially because Hector Neris started off the season really, really well, and he had, I think, something like 12 straight saves for the Phillies, which was awesome. He was performing really well. He got into that role as a closer, which, if you remember, Gabe Kapler had started here as a manager by saying, you know, the arms in our bullpen are not going to have roles. We're just going to, you know, see what happens. And Hector Neris did eventually go into his role as a closer, and that's kind of where he was. And he was performing extremely, extremely well. Then that was the second save in a row that he blew, and that was just completely brutal to watch. It was unfortunate because you've seen a team over the last, what month of the season are we in? March, April, May, June, July. In the fourth month of the season, just a little over the halfway point, you've seen a team that hasn't been able to really rally to do that. They haven't been able to put those kinds of wins together yet. They have had one or two walk-offs here and there. You know, Mike Franco did it against the Nationals, and that was really exciting. But you haven't seen a team that was able to come back with multiple runs and win. So, you know, going into the ninth inning, after, I'm not even gonna lie to you, after Hector Neris blew that save, I went, forget this, and I turned it off and I put Netflix on. I was like, I can't watch it happen. It was going so well, I can't watch it happen. And I'm on Twitter, as you know, Netflix is on the background, it's late. I'm on Twitter and I'm seeing that they're scoring runs. So I'm like, okay, like let me turn this on. We turned that on and watched Bryce Harper with that walk-off hit for them to win. That was so huge. It just showed that there was some sort of fight left in that team. They haven't given up. After Andy MacPhail said what he said before the National Series, said, you know, we're not just one move away from the World Series, which is true, but the way that he said it, the way that he was talking, made it sound like he was giving up on this season. He, you know, the famous line, oh, if the playoffs started now, there's still 80 games left. Like, there's still a lot of baseball to be played. And it sounded like he was giving up. Now, the fear there is he gives up, then the front office really doesn't have the clear to go out and make these moves, make any moves to try to give them a push. Then the coaching staff, having a trickle-down effect, a domino effect of, you know, kind of quitting on the season that eventually gets to the players where they stop fighting. And that was my fear, and that's what I was concerned about and what I was starting to see in that first game against the Dodgers. But Gabe Kapler, you know, actually kind of made a statement this week. You know, he benched a couple guys that he didn't feel were hustling. He was trying to make an example, and he wanted to make sure that, you know, this is a good baseball team. The bullpen's not there. The starting pitching is not there. The arms just aren't there as a whole. It is what it is. It is what it is at this point. That's what they need to go out and figure out. And if they don't do it before the trade deadline, which is in 2 weeks, if they don't do it before then, that's the priority for the offseason. I don't want to have to think about the offseason yet, because I was given so many moves in this past offseason that I should be able to expect playoffs and that not be an unrealistic expectation. That shouldn't be an unrealistic expectation for me at all. You go out and you get Andrew McCutchen. Obviously, I know he's hurt now. You sign Andrew McCutchen. You trade for Gene Segura. You get Bryce Harper. You do these things, and that should... You trade for JT Realmuto. There's enough there that they should be able to elevate above when their pitching isn't there. Their pitching needs to be there. That's no secret. And that's what needs to be worked on. But a playoff team is not an unrealistic expectation out of what has been built of the Phillies and out of what these Phillies have been hyped up to be. Now, people are underperforming. That's no secret. However, some of those guys that have been underperforming are starting to pick it up a little bit as the second half of the season rolls on. Bryce Harper against the Dodgers, 6 for 12, a home run, 7 RBIs, a walk-off hit, and a game-tying hit today. That's in just 4 games after they just split with the Dodgers. Again, going back and forth with the Dodgers today, back and forth, and getting out in front. Hector Neris gave up a home run, but he was able to finish out the save because they had built themselves a 2-run cushion. Some of these guys, Scott Kingery has done a really good job of not getting cold for an extended period of time. Gene Segura is really, really consistent. Cesar has been relatively consistent. And now, Rhys Hoskins and Bryce Harper are starting to get into an upward trend, which is what they need at this point in the season. I don't know. I have to find out. I have to do some looking around at the standings now. Obviously, I know the Braves are ridiculously far ahead. But the Nationals, they're not out of reach. That second spot in the NL East is not out of reach. They have to be able to beat teams like the Nationals. Let's start there. I mean, especially when, they're going against some of their lesser pitchers, they have to be able to do that and not blow saves in the 9th inning and lose. But, they're fighting. There's fight left in this team, which is really awesome to see after the way that the comments were made by Andy MacPhail. I just don't think, people are really quick to say this person needs to be fired, fire this person. I'm not a huge this person needs to be fired person. I'm not really about that. I don't love that. Especially, you're giving a guy in his second year of being a manager, you're just going to say fire him. I'm not the biggest Gabe fan. That's different reasons other than his managing. I don't really have a big problem with the way he manages. I have a big problem with the way that he's so overly positive and makes me feel dumb for being upset about something when he likes to spin it in a positive way. I hate that. That drives me nuts. He's a robot. It drives me nuts. But when he goes out there and he's fighting for his guys, I've seen more from Gabe Kapler this year that I actually like. And, then there's the idiots that call into the radio and they're like, oh, well, he pulled Aaron Nola while he was throwing a gem the other night that the bullpen came in and blew. And they were playing the Nationals and they lost that game. That's true, but through 6 innings, Aaron Nola was at 110 pitches. And it was 90 degrees outside. That's a lot. You can't just expect Nola to keep going out there and he's not going to get up to 120, 130 pitches and everything just be fine. He probably pulled Aaron Nola out of there before Aaron Nola could have totally blown the game himself. Now, obviously, Aaron Nola is our ace starting pitcher. He is the one pitcher that is relatively consistent and can be relied on. He didn't perform super well today, but he did perform, out of his mind, as he usually does, on Saturday when they were playing the Nationals. The bullpen came in, and it all went to hell in a handbasket. That's what can't happen. I hold my breath every time anybody from the bullpen comes in. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care. I don't even know who half of them are, because the majority of our bullpen is on the IL, and then there's these random people that keep showing up out of nowhere and get called up and sent down and left and right. I have no idea. But it makes me so nervous every time our starting pitcher is pulled out. And, some of our starting pitchers, when they start, it makes me nervous as well. But the biggest thing here is there's still fight left in this team. The best team in baseball comes in here. Their fans, embarrassingly enough, take over our stadium. Okay. They split with the Dodgers. A month ago, they got swept by the Dodgers. If this team performs to the best of their ability, they can be up there and compete with any team in the MLB. But they have to be able to perform and perform consistently. The consistency has been off, and, obviously the pitching and the arms, they just aren't there. I agree with Andy MacPhail that they are not one move away from the World Series. That is clear. That's obvious. It's been shown. And that's fine. From a baseball analytical perspective, yes, one move is not going to seal the deal, so giving up a lot for something small right now isn't the best idea. I get that, but when it sounds like the highest level of management is giving up on the season, that's unacceptable to me as a fan. As a fan, I feel cheated by this season by those comments. So yeah, I get that he's right from a baseball perspective, but as a fan, as a Phillies fan, to me, that's not it. That's not what should have been said. But that's just me. Going forward, they've got a couple more really difficult matchups. I'm trying to think who their next. They've got, it's a tough stretch for the Phillies. As we get into August, there's going to be a game or two where we do lose Bryce Harper. His wife is due relatively soon. She's due in August, I believe, when they said when they announced the pregnancy. But, so we lost JT Realmuto for a day, which obviously no complaints there. He absolutely deserves that time with his wife, with his new daughter, with his family, absolutely. Bryce, same thing. But, so keep in mind, we're going to lose Bryce Harper for at least one game in there. They play the Pirates next, so they go out to Pittsburgh. The Pirates are actually putting together a really decent season for themselves. They're a couple games under 500, but, not doing, they're playing really good baseball out there, and then they head out to play the Dodgers and then come back home to face the Braves the end of July. So, a little bit tougher of a stretch here in July after they come back from the All-Star break. When it comes to the standings, let's see. The Phillies are 2.5 games back now from the Nationals. They have the same number of wins, but they have 3 more losses than the Nationals. So they're 8 games back from the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are 58-39. The Nationals are 50-44. And the Phillies are 50-47. And they also need to, make sure that they're winning the games that they're supposed to win. They need to continue to do that because the Mets, as much as we talk about sweeping the Mets and how much the Mets suck, the Mets are 44-51. So, they're only 5 games back from the Phillies right now, which is worrisome to me if the Phillies don't continue to be able to put forth a good effort and realize that they need to keep fighting. Because, they're right there, they're right there. And, they're out of the wild card race at this point, I believe. But they're tied with the Brewers. So the Brewers are also 50-47, but they also have an MVP candidate that is playing very well and doesn't show any signs of slowing down. So the Phillies need to continue to play good baseball. They need to work on playing their best baseball during this time. They can't fall off the way they did last year because that was probably the worst thing ever. That was horrible. And, documented the worst in history. But, they have it left in them. They can close out the season strong. They just need to absolutely go on a run. And that's kind of where they need to be. So, that's kind of wrapping up the Phillies talk here. I want to move on to the Sixers a little bit. Ben Simmons, his extension became official. He officially signed the $170 million 5-year extension. What I like about his extension is the 5th year is not an option. It's a full 5-year contract. And there's a 15% trade kicker on there as well, which means that if there is a team that trades for Ben Simmons, not only do they have to pay his salary, but they have to pay his salary plus 15%. So it deters teams from trading for Ben Simmons, making him more likely to stay here throughout the duration of that contract. He also, additionally, with that, announced that he will not be playing in the FIBA World Cup for Team Australia. That was not something that was, a pressure given by the Sixers or anything like that. That was Ben's decision, kind of a mutual decision that, he wants to make sure he is ready to go for the season, in getting this contract, wants to make sure that he is where he should be. And I want to talk about his contract a little bit because I know there are a lot of people who feel some type of way about Ben Simmons. I would say that in talking about Ben, and it's well known that I'm a big fan of Ben. I'm a big supporter of Ben. I am a big Ben apologist. I will die on this Ben Simmons hill. I think he's fantastic, and I think he has the potential to be in the upper echelon of players for the next 10, 15 years in this league. He has the opportunity to be that perennial all-star. I think he will absolutely be that perennial all-star. As Brett Brown said, I completely agree. He has the chance to win not only an MVP, but a Defensive Player of the Year in his career at some point. I don't think that's far off at all, and I don't think that's a ridiculous thing to say. Based on watching Ben Simmons and, watching no less than 77 out of the 82 games last year, you see the glimpses of what he can do and why he is so fantastic and why he could be and will be one of the best players in the NBA for years to come. And, when I talk about Ben, when I tweet about Ben, when I write articles about Ben and post them, all over different social medias, Facebook, what have you, you'd be surprised. Now, I know there are a lot of people like me that are so sick of having the argument, so sick of having the conversation, and so sick of having the debate that, the supporters don't necessarily come out and flock. They don't come out and be vocal and support, the article or Ben or what have you. It's usually the negative minds that feel the need to comment and respond and things like that and have all these negative things to say. But in my experience of writing about the team, covering the team over the last, year and a half, 2 years, I've noticed that it is at least 60% of this fan base that does not see Ben in that light, that always has something to say, and usually it's about a jump shot. It's an argument that makes anyone using it sound ignorant about basketball. It makes you sound like, now you could know anything and everything about basketball. Using that as an argument makes you sound dumb. Dumb. I'm not going to sit here and say that Ben Simmons doesn't need a jump shot, because we all know that that's not true. He absolutely needs to be willing to shoot. I don't think he can't shoot. I think he's unwilling to shoot. He needs to just be confident in his shot. He needs to just take shots. I don't even care if they go in. Just start taking them. Take them and make a defender honor your shot. That's all I need from Ben. I need him to be confident enough to take shots. That's all. But saying he doesn't deserve the max contract because he can't shoot a jump shot. He doesn't deserve a max contract because this, because that. And it all has to come back to a jump shot. He doesn't deserve this. He shouldn't be on the team. We should trade him for Chris Paul. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It makes you sound ignorant and dumb about basketball because there are so many other things that Ben Simmons does on the floor that has nothing to do with the jump shot. So you add a jump shot in, and magically this script is going to be completely flipped, and all these people are going to change their minds, which is why I have started screenshotting all of the negative comments about Ben and all the hate on Ben, because I'm going to bring it up when he's an all-star again, when he's 2 for 3 on All-Stars, and is shooting from everywhere. I'm going to bring them up. I'm going to post them, and I will expose you. Because guess what? It is going to happen. Elton Brand has made a point to say he is coming back with a shot. Tobias Harris, in his press conference last week, made a point to say, yeah, I was playing Ben one-on-one, and I was daring him to shoot threes. He hit back-to-back threes, and that jump shot looks good. I don't want to hear anything about Howard Eskin talking about how Ben doesn't have a jump shot and won't get a jump shot. It makes you sound so unbelievably dumb. Anybody coming up to me saying, oh, he doesn't deserve a max extension because of a jump shot, it's amazing to me that as a fan base, we claim to know our team so well and be so smart about these sports, yet you talk out of your ass like an idiot. One of the things that came up this week, there was an article posted on Bleacher Report called Maxed Out. And it was talking about who deserves max contracts and why. And it was talking about how, a couple different NBA GMs and NBA front office executives were anonymously polled saying that of the 10 free agents that were given max level contracts this summer, none of them actually deserve them. And there are a multitude of reasons that go into that. Teams in secondary markets or lower level locations that aren't considered destination cities, i.e. Miami, LA, what have you, those teams feel the need to overpay for lesser players because they don't want to lose them to a bigger market. New York is another one that's a destination market. So they're guys that really don't deserve or encompass what a max level player should have. Now, it's explaining the max level player as being a two-way player, good on both ends of the floor, sees the floor well, does everything on the floor, but is also a vocal leader on and off the court. Those are the kinds of players that deserve max contracts. So think about some of the guys that got max contracts this summer. Kawhi Leonard. Does he deserve a max contract for what he does on the floor? Yes. Is he the best two-way player in the NBA? Yes. But at the end of the day, is he the vocal leader on the team? No. Kawhi Leonard is not going to gather the guys in the locker room and, motivate them before they go on the floor. That's not Kawhi. We've seen it. He's a quiet dude. We've seen that happen. Additionally, what they say about getting the max contracts is because then these lower level players are getting these contracts, it kind of messes with the entire dynamic of the team because you see a guy next to you that got a $190 million contract and your brain says, this is the guy. He is making $30 million this year compared to my $6 million. At the end of the day, he should be the one that we look to make the final shot, to do everything on the floor. And at the end of the day, it's not necessarily going to be that guy doing it. So think about guys like Klay Thompson. Will he show up on the floor, give all that he has on both ends, ball out every night? Yes. Is he that team leader? No. He's not going to be the vocal leader. A guy like CJ McCollum. I know obviously he wasn't in a contract year, didn't get an extension or anything like that this summer, but he's another one. Chris Middleton is the perfect example. Think about the money that Chris Middleton was just given when he is the 4th or 5th best player on any other NBA team. So getting that contract and getting that money when there are other guys there that, you might need to consider ahead of Chris Middleton, that's where that dynamic is kind of thrown off. It's guys like Gordon Hayward. That contract is ridiculous, especially for him to be coming off the bench. Kyrie Irving. Is his play worth it? I guess, but he's not going to give you a lick of defense, and he's not a leader. He's shown that. He's not the guy. Jimmy Butler is a guy who, earns that contract. He's going to be the leader, and he's going to give you his all on both ends of the floor. He's the kind of guy like that. LeBron James, he's going to give you his all, and he is that leader. Tying this all together, when it comes to Ben Simmons, if you think about what happened and what was talked about in the beginning of the year, what they wanted Ben to work on. Brett Brown said multiple times, we don't expect Ben to shoot a lot. We don't expect Ben to have that jump shot. That is not what we asked him to work on. We want him to be a leader. We want him to work on his leadership and be a leader of this franchise. That is what they said. They want him to work on his leadership qualities. At the end of the season, when they had their, exit interviews, they asked Ben what he thought he improved on this season. Ben's answer was his leadership skills. That's what he thought he got better at, because that's what he worked on. And everyone kind of scratched their head and, wanted to be like, hey, shoot a jump shot, because that's the only argument against Ben Simmons. And in reality, if you think about the way that this article is written and the different perspective it gives you, they have a guy who plays elite defense, sees the floor better than almost anybody in the league, is an elite passer and an elite rebounder, has almost averaged a triple-double in both of his first 2 NBA seasons, is an all-star without a jump shot, without making a three-pointer in an NBA game. He worked on these leadership qualities, so he is the true definition. When he starts shooting, he is the true definition of deserving a max contract and deserving that money he's getting. We gave Joel Embiid a $148 million extension after playing 31 games in the NBA. There were people that were mad about it too. They didn't know why. Injury prone. That was the argument. Joel Embiid has shown you in the last 2 years that he is worth every penny of that $148 million. Every penny. He also is going to take everything he needs to heart. You've seen the pictures of Joel. He's been working hard. He's been working out. And he looks slimmer. He looks good. He looks like he's taking it seriously. With the team that they've built, I agree, they still need a shooter. If they can't sign a guy like Kyle Korver, they might need to convert Mario Shayok's contract to a regular NBA contract because he is a shooter off the bench that they would need if they can't sign a guy like Kyle Korver. But with the team that they've built, what they've done, if Ben and Joel take their responsibilities seriously, which I believe they are completely, this team is going to be a serious force to be reckoned with this upcoming season. If Ben is willing to shoot and Joel takes better care of his body and doesn't have as many issues with his knees, being sick, what have you, they are one of the best duos in the NBA. There are a lot of good duos in the NBA, and we've talked about it, that these guys, there aren't teams that have 3 players. These are the two combos. Two player combos. You've got Paul George and Kawhi, LeBron and AD, Kyrie and KD. Obviously, KD's not playing the season, but you get it. Clay and Steph, same thing. Dame and CJ. Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Ben and Joel. Giannis and Chris. Luka and Kristaps. They're all-stars. They're super talented. And then you've got other guys that are, kind of dispersed around the NBA. Devin Booker, Kemba, Jimmy, Chris Paul. I don't know what's going to happen down there with him. You got Kyle Lowry still, who's, he's not the guy he's not going to lead that team back very far himself, but, Jokic, Rudy, you have guys, and think about, the Utah Jazz. They've got Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, but they've also got Rudy Gobert. Victor Oladipo has now get to be paired with Malcolm Brogdon. There are a lot of players and a lot of combinations of players that are really interesting in the NBA. And if Ben and Joel take everything they need to seriously, they are 25 and they're about to just be 25 or 26 and 23 years old. They have such a high ceiling that they can be the best duo in the NBA. And with a supporting cast of guys like Tobias Harris, Al Horford, Josh Richardson, Zaire Smith, Matisse Thybulle, Mike Scott, James Ennis. This is a squad. This is a serious squad right here. And it's really interesting that, people want to write off the Sixers because of one 22, soon to be 23-year-old kid who is not confident in his shot yet. But he is working his tail off right now to be ready for the season. Anyone who has negative things to say about Ben, wants to trade Ben, doesn't think he's going to come back with a jump shot, stay on that side. Stay on that side. When the Sixers win an NBA championship, don't even show up to the parade. You don't deserve to be there. You won't deserve to be there. And the world will know because I will let them know about everyone who did it. Everyone who's ever been in my mentions, commented on my articles, you will be exposed when the Sixers come back firing and when Ben Simmons comes back firing. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. So before I wrap up here, there was one more thing that I wanted to touch on, and this is something that is a little bit, it's sports related because it has to do with a sports media member here in Philly who's considered a legend for some reason. And, this happened earlier this week, and, there are a lot of things that happened because of it. And at this point, with all the different things that go on in this crazy world we live in, and the things that are said and the things that are done, I'm tired of keeping my mouth shut when it comes to certain things, or because people think that I'm expected to not speak up about certain things, or because it upsets people that I speak up about certain things. Part of what makes me me is that I don't keep my mouth shut about things, and I'm not going to apologize for defending something that I believe in. And one of those things is Angelo Cataldi's tweet earlier this week. He tweeted a picture. So Anna Paula, Joel Embiid's girlfriend, who they've been together for I think about a year is when the rumor started coming out that he was dating someone. She's been at Sixers games. Obviously, we see the footage of her with him, after they lost to the Raptors in Game 7. You've seen they were on vacation together, and he did the Under Armour tour with Steph Curry in China. She was with him. You've seen pictures of them all over. And she is a Sports Illustrated model. Beautiful, beautiful girl. And they seem to, be very content, very happy, and, I wish them all the best, and I'm sure everyone else does too. The Sports Illustrated swimsuit fashion show was over the weekend, and our guy, Joel Embiid, was there with his girl, and was there in a shirt that said Empower Women, which I love, and I think that's great. And Joel, you remain one of my favorites, as always. But Angelo decided he was going to tweet a picture from the runway of Joel's girlfriend and say, "This is Joel Embiid's girlfriend. Is she hotter than his previous crush, Rihanna?" I quoted the tweet and said, "This tweet is disgusting." And I hold firm with that. It is disgusting because, yes, his girlfriend's a model. Anne's a model. She's a gorgeous model. She has, pictures taken of her for magazines, for, she's on runways, whatever. That does not give a man who is twice her age and old enough, more than twice her age, old enough to be her father, does not give him the right to post a picture and compare her to another gorgeous female. That's not the point of this, and it's never been the point of a reason any woman does anything ever. No one goes out of their way to purposely try to be compared to someone else. Every woman is beautiful in their own right, and posing that tweet has nothing to do with sports, A, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting. She doesn't live her life to be compared to someone else. She doesn't. And if you claim to be a supporter of Joel, that's not right either. So she, again, is gorgeous and didn't sign up to be put out there and compared like that by an old man. However, by my defending that right of hers, and by me saying this tweet is disgusting, that apparently makes me a horrible person. I called out people for being misogynistic because that's exactly what was happening, and apparently that is me name calling. That's me being terrible, can't have a conversation. That's one thing. Additionally, I was told that because I thought that was disgusting, or I tweeted that was disgusting, that makes me sound jealous. It makes me sound soapboxy. It makes me sound like I'm an uppity man-hater. Apparently makes me sound like I have issues. And it's the reason that I can't keep a man, and the reason I don't have a husband. Can't keep a man, says the girl who lives with her boyfriend of 6 years. My only goal in life is not just to have a husband. Believe it or not, every female, our number one goal isn't always just to find a husband. I have other goals in my life for me personally that don't involve any man ever, or not contingent on any man ever, and never will be contingent on any man ever. And I'm going to achieve those goals without the help of any man ever because of, I can be successful on my own. And also I was told that I should just let men be men and stop crying. That is the problem. Anyone who doesn't see what is wrong with that tweet also has very similar thoughts and issues. Listen, I know that models and things like that definitely post pictures because they want people to like them, they want people to comment and say nice things. I get that. And sometimes that's what people do. That's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's done it. Everyone now in this age of social media posts pictures for likes. That's what happens. But no one posts pictures for the purpose of someone else taking them, posting them for their own reasons, and comparing them to another female. That's what's wrong with it. If Angela would have posted the picture and said, "This is Joel Embiid's girlfriend, well done, Joel, she's beautiful," it's still a little weird because he's so much older. But that's so much different than posting the picture and saying, "Do we think she's hotter than Rihanna?" That is what is unacceptable. There is no reason to completely attack somebody when you don't understand what is wrong. If you don't understand what's wrong and you want to understand what's wrong, there are easy ways to try to contact someone about that instead of trying to mock them first. Trying to say that they're jealous on a soapbox, an uppity man-hater. If you want to accuse me of being any of those things and then get upset when I don't just want to talk about it, and that makes me a horrible person, apparently, that's a you problem. That's a you issue. So at the end of the day, social media is social media. People are going to do and say what they want, and I'm not going to let anyone who has anything negative to say to me faze me at all. It's not going to change who I am, or what I do, or how I do it. It's not. But there is a problem with the way people responded to me and other females in the Philadelphia area that had a problem with this tweet. It's not far-fetched to have an issue with this tweet. And honestly, I still have a problem with it. It's been bothering me since Monday. I was very frustrated about that. And I will say, you know my social media information. Feel free to reach out on social media. And if you don't understand and would like to have a conversation, we can do that. Don't start it with mocking me or any of my female sports voice peers. That's not the way to start a conversation. However, I will say there is one person on Twitter who we did get into it a little bit, but at the end of the conversation, he went and actually donated $100 to Susan G. Komen, which was absolutely fantastic. Breast cancer affects the lives of so many. It's an issue that's very near and dear to myself. I have a large, extensive history of breast cancer in my family, and has impacted me, personally throughout my family members and things like that. So doing something like that really, after going back and forth a little bit and seeing there are bigger things in the world, that is something that is, really special, and I hope more people can actually be like that. But there are too many things going on in the world to have so many problems just like this. And I know I just went on a little bit of a rant about something that's not necessarily sports related, but it absolutely needed to be talked about. And it's something that's really, I feel strongly about, and I'm not going to apologize for feeling strongly about it. But it is what it is. It is what it is. What are you going to do? So, I'm just going to kind of wrap it up there. Hopefully, Rob and I will be able to get back in studio next week to continue talking about continue along with our divisional breakdowns as we get closer to the NFL season. When a week from today, players report to training camp for the Eagles, July 25th. So that's coming up. Preseason's coming up. The NFL season is rapidly approaching. We'll see what the Eagles are looking like at that point, what things are looking like from a depth chart perspective, what things are looking like, at every position, how everyone's looking, what's going on, and we'll kind of see what's going on there. As always, this is The Madness, brought to you by Pro Sports Notes, powered by Wildfire Radio. You can follow us on Twitter at @Philly_Madness. You can follow me on Twitter at RunThisTown with an E13. You can also follow The Madness on Instagram at Philly_Madness. You can follow me on Instagram at Jessica_Town or at Jessica Town Media. And you can also find us on YouTube on our Pro Sports Notes channel. You can also find us on Facebook, The Madness Podcast. You can find us anywhere. Drop us a line. Let us know how you think about any of these things that I talked about today, about anything in general, things you want to hear us talk about. Please go on iTunes, like, share, subscribe, comment, rate, review, all of the things. Share us with your friends. And until we get back to you next week, embrace the madness.